2.5 years I'm here in Belgium. Um, Let me take you to the beginning. In 2011, there's a revolution started. Why? There's so many people they don't really know. Since I was in Greece, a lot of people were asking me, we're like, wow, you guys destroyed your country. Like, why would somebody do like this? But then if you go back to the story, why everything happened, what we're seeing today is very complicated, but what is the beginning? In 2011, there are some kids, who are like 12, 13 years old, they have written freedom on one of the walls. And the government, they have the police station, let's say, because it wasn't government fault in the beginning, definitely. So they arrested them, they've taken them and they were arrested for like a week. And everybody, all the parents were like asking, where are our kids, where are our kids, where are our kids, and nothing. So they started going to the police station, they started asking about their kids, and then there's nothing, you know? And then 3 of the kids were released, died under torture. So I was like kids, you know, 12, 13 years old, so you can make a mistake. That's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. But unfortunately, 3 of them were tortured and were just dead. And that's why the parents went crazy, went like, what did just happen with our kids? And there were like some more kids, so everybody was asking about, you know, there were like more people going on the streets, people who were with the kids who died actually, people from the other side with the other kids who were still there. So they have been demonstrating, they have been starting like to ask what happened, where are the rest of the kids, and we want you to be punished, you know, by the court. But that didn't happen, unfortunately. And instead of that, they were shooting everyone going to the street, asking about the kids. So it was bigger. Everybody was like, okay, so this is not the police station fault, because now it's on the news. So it's a bigger people fault. So they were asking to change the head of the guy in the police station or whoever is making this, but then it didn't end. More people on the street, more people asking for the kids. The other 3 kids were also, the other couple kids actually were released, but also a lot of torturing. And then that's why everything went crazy. People went to street, they started demonstrating, they started saying, why? Why would something like this happen? And the crazy part, what made actually everything went just like more and more on fire. When the parents asked about the kids in the first time, what they said in the police station is this: you need to forget your kids, you need to make a new ones. And if you want to make a new ones and you can't, you have to bring your wives here, we can make kids for you. That's what happened. That's why it's crazy. That's why they say at some points it's the revolution of dignity. Because people, they couldn't just, you know, they couldn't just sit. I mean, imagine this is happening with you or with anybody. Would you just let it go? So that's why everybody was on the street. That's why everything went crazier. People demonstrating against whoever made this. And it went bigger because it was violence, using violence. They're not listening, they just want to talk. And their news is also saying that everybody who's on the street, they're trying to destroy the country, they're trying like to demonstrate against us. It was never against whoever, you know, it was like never against the president, for example. It was always against the people who made the mistake, the people who did that, who said that, who tortured the kids. But it went bigger and bigger and bigger. 6 months later, I was in my city. My city went also, I'm from Homs. Homs is a beautiful city. It reminds me a lot actually of Brussels. And that's one reason why I really love Brussels. It was a city of 1 million people. It's always nice, always busy, always a lot of people on the streets. So I really liked it. And 6 months later, my city was always a lot of demonstrations with the city where everything started, which is south of Syria, which is Daraa. And they started demonstrating with them. And again, the same thing. Army was on the street, and at some point, after 6 months, tanks were on the street, checkpoints everywhere. You can't move to somewhere because they will check you everywhere. So 6 months later, we made one of the very hardest decisions. We're leaving my house, our apartment. So at that point, actually, I knew, like, you know, everything went up and more, and people were started to leave. So I knew that there's something wrong for sure. I mean, if we're leaving, doesn't mean, you know. And I was asking, like, yeah, when are we going back? You know, my school, my things, everything is here, you know. And then my father was like, yeah, maybe 1, 2, 3 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, whenever it's better situation. And it has never been better situation. So I've never seen my house again, actually, since I left like 8 years ago. I left, I went to the countryside, stayed in the countryside for like 2-3 years, and then we made another decision. Situation was harder, everything was crazier. Yes, people at some point, they took guns, which is crazy from one side, but look at it from the other side. That's what a lot of people today, they look at the media, they look at the things, and they're just like, that's what happened. No, dude, ask why. Why would they do that? Because if you're there, let's imagine you're one of the people who were there, and you were demonstrating and peacefully, and there's nothing happening, and then they arrest your father, and you're like, let's continue peacefully. And then they shoot your brother, you're like, let's continue peacefully. They rape someone, you know. At some point, we're humans, and humans have limitation. And after that limitation, you can't. Whoever you are, you can't be more patient. So people started defending themselves against their own government. And that's the crazy thing. That's what made us always like, why would you do this while you're my brother? I mean, we're the same blood, right? I mean, we're born here. This is our country. What we're doing is for our country. Not for somebody, for a chair, not for a dictatorship, fortunately. I left 3 years, I was in the countryside, and then I left from there, made the first decision, leaving also the whole country, because it was also way too hard, like, you know, electricity, water, you have to go bring this, go figure out this, go fix this, schools, they're like closed for a month. So everything was just like, you know, just passing days, you're like, yeah, tomorrow, but at some points we were just like, when is tomorrow? So we left for the first time, and we went firstly to Jordan. We were not in because there were a lot of people on the borders, so we had to go back to the countryside where we were already, where we sold everything. So we had to, you know, buy things, find a place, and so on. And after a year again, we decided to leave, and we were like, let's go to Turkey. So we went to Turkey, and we were in the borders, and gladly they let us in. So it's a nice feeling when you're like, when you have a hard situation in your house, when there's a problem, even like, let's say with water right now, then you leave to your neighbor, you knock the door, they open the door, they say, you're welcome. You know, it's not like you're going to destroy or steal or do whatever things, but you have a problem that you can't stay in your house because everything is wet. And here we're talking about water problems, so it's not war. So we were in, everything was really good. I was like really glad to see electricity, water, everything is easier. Things that we don't appreciate generally, but when you have a hard situation, you start thinking like, wow, that's really great. I stayed in Turkey for like 1.5 years. So the thing that you don't know about Turkey at some points, that there are like 4 million refugees in Turkey. So that's a big number. That means chances to work are less. That means everything is less. Like, I mean, even if you want to go to school, your chances are less. People work more hours, they get less paid. It's crazy, but there are a lot of refugees. So at some point we're like, yeah, we can't say anything because, I mean, you know, we're grateful that we're here, but that's the situation. That's why people started leaving when there was a way to go to Europe. But they were actually, they would go anywhere where it's a good situation. So it was never like, yeah, it was just like people leaving because, yes, it was hard there and everybody was like, let's go somewhere else where we can find better place to live, to work, to study, to build our life, which we